All right, peace and blessings, Assalamu alaikum, shalom. Welcome, everyone. We are live and we are in, as they say, full effect. We want to welcome Twin Pyramid to the program, peace and blessings. We want to welcome Deacons of Reality to the program, peace and blessings. All right. We got Doc with us today. We got Brother Emil with us today, who's our special guest. It's always a pleasure to have our brother from another mother right here along with us. All right, peace and blessings, Doc. How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. My Buckeyes represented up in South Bend last weekend, so I am good. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. And Brother Emil, peace and blessings. How you doing, big bro?
Peace and blessings to both of you, Maurice and Doc. I'm doing good. I just got back from my third deployment last month, and already my fourth deployment is rapidly approaching. So I'm getting mentally prepared for that.
Excellent. And we also want to welcome Brother Willie Rivers to the program. Peace and blessings, big bro. Glad to have you. Now, our program today is entitled The Use and Abuse of Authority. The Use and Abuse of Authority. But before we get into there, since we do have Brother Emil with us, I wanted to go into some of your travels that you've been on, Emil, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yes. Totally okay with me.
Okay, perfect. So since you're a world traveler now, tell us some of the exciting places that you have been. What have you learned?
So, I've been to, can I list all of them? If it's not going to make the program lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been to the very first country I went to on my first deployment was Spain, and then from then on, I've been to Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, Gabon, Republic of Congo, Angola, Namibia, South Africa, Seychelles, Mozambique, Tanzania, Somalia, Djibouti, Egypt, and then Greece, Italy, and Malta.
Wow, excellent. And out of all of the places you've been to, which place would you say that you learned most new things about, and what was that you learned?
Where was the country I learned most new things about? I'd say a lot of the countries I've been to in Africa, especially the ones in the west part, central part of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Like prior to my travels to Africa, I didn't know that European languages like French and Portuguese are the official languages of those nations. That's the direct result of colonialism, but there's still good population that chooses to retain their mother language.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the European languages on the um, countries that got colonized by the French and the Portuguese and Germans. Unfortunately, that's the main official language and widely spoken languages of those countries.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
And you when you're in those African countries and you're able, because some, were you able to go into each country, get off the boat and go into and mingle with the people?
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Okay. And so you're being able to mingle with Africans in their own country. What was that like? And comparing them to mingling with African Americans, what was the difference?
It's a totally different experience and culture shock
Mm,
because they talk and of course behave and act differently from how African Americans are here in the States. So I would to simply put, it's just a drastic cultural difference.
mhm. Wow, wow. And what?
But at the end of the day, of course, black people across the African diaspora all over the world, no matter what language they speak, tribe they're from, country they're from, uh, y'all are still one people at the end of the day. So that's what still matters.
Mhm, mhm,
And that's what all black people over the world should abide to.
mhm,
Stop this tribalism and cultural division amongst one another. Because as I shared with you the other night, there's still a sect of Black Americans here in the states that want to be anything besides African. They
mhm,
always calling themselves the indigenous American natives
mhm.
of this land.
Exactly, exactly. Um, how is it, because you, and if you don't want to share this, it's fine. But you were telling me before that the journey that you're on as far as learning more and more about history and African history and your love of Black people, but in your own family you're the only one, you're not,
Yeah,
that way is not
I'm the
accepted.
I'm the not just my family, but I would say my whole race as a collective, like other Filipinos or other Asians who uh, eventually find out and discover the values I hold. That's when
Mhm,
they begin to show their true colors and treat me differently.
mhm. Wow. Just because you love Black people.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're extremely colonial minded.
Mm,
Like,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
colonialism has done them a great deal.
Mhm. Definitely,
And
definitely.
I honestly, I'm not saying this to sound morbid or to talk down on my people, but I don't see them anytime soon waking up as much as a lot of black people over the world are starting to wake up.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Well, we definitely love you and we appreciate your service, for everything that you do for us. Doc, do you have any questions you wanted to ask Brother Emil? Looks like Doc is frozen.
Yeah, so just to let you know, I might also be frozen in just a few minutes because the Wi-Fi I'm using.
Um, my
Can you hear me?
question, when you said, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Doc.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. When you named the African countries that you've been to, my interest peaked up when you mentioned Ghana. Did you go into Ghana?
Yes, but only the capital.
Oh, you went to Accra.
Yeah, Accra.
Okay, okay, all right. That's my long range vacation plan. Well, retirement plan is to retire to the Cape Coast of Ghana. That's
I've never been to
that's
the.
where I want to live my last days. If you imagine.
I've never been to the Cape Coast, but I would like to. Well,
Yeah,
like next time.
that's where Elmina's at, the Cape Coast Castle.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where the whole
when you make
connection.
it back to Ghana, if you say that again.
Oh, I'm sorry. When I go back to Ghana, I would hope to visit Cape Coast and see the dungeons
Yeah,
where the Africans got
yeah,
tortured,
yeah.
and
Elmina.
just have an experience with that.
Yeah, yeah. If when you make it there, I don't say if. When you make it there, make sure you look up One Africa. Find your way to One Africa. It is the center of Black folk who are making the transition from America to Ghana. They almost always make it through One Africa. So we have quite a community of African Americans who are centered in One Africa.
Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind.
All right, man. Great to see you, man. Stay safe, man. Stay
Oh
safe
yeah,
and stay
you too.
encouraged and just keep on keeping on.
Yep.
Definitely. So we have a question, Brother Mill. Brother say a Filipino friend of mine says that Filipinos are the black people of Asia. How is that true?
That's the
The
first
Black
time.
people of Asia.
So, um, it's the Chinese that say that because Chinese, because of how xenophobic and racist they are, they even despise other Asians or darker skin.
Mm.
So, uh, I'm shocked that that kind of comment would come from a Filipino. But I don't know if his Filipino friend means that in a positive light, as in he's embracing his dark.
Mm. So you say that that saying originally came from the Chinese, that the
That, yeah,
Chinese said that
the Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans could. Yeah, we are the Southeast Asians. To them are the Mexicans and Black people of Asia, and
oh, I see.
that's usually said in a way that's so condescending and
Right.
racist.
Hmm. I see. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, man.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow. And the Japanese say that too?
yeah, the East Asians, because the
Wow.
East Asians are like the since they're calling Southeast Asians the Black people of Asia. Obviously, the East Asians are the white people of Asia.
Exactly. Wow. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Mm. All right. Well, again, as I said, our program today, we're talking about the use and abuse of authority. Um, and this topic is what we're talking about because we have to understand, first of all, what is authority, what is abuse, because we live in America, and none of us, we were born here, none of us decided to say, well, I submit to your authority, I give you authority over me, I give you rulership over me. And so, understanding that we never made that declaration, but yet we're here under so-called their authority. They have abused their authority, and it's time for the black man to be able to take an honest and open look at authority and the abuse of authority, because this so-called authority has abused us all, no matter whether you black, Filipino, white, whatever you are. You have been abused by authority. And as I was thinking on this topic today, making my rounds, we have gotten so used to abuse of it by authority that we'll sit there and know somebody, like it was this black woman went to go have a baby, and she could see that the doctor was drunk, and she still allowed this white doctor to perform, to do the birthing of the baby. And of course the baby gets injured, and mama is crying, grandmama is crying. But it's like, wait a minute, you knew he was drunk before you allowed him to do it. So we get in our mind that it's okay when we know it's wrong. And so this is a subject that I want us to deal in, because the black man has to be first man to stand up and say, no more. No more. We got people that get into politics not to do good by the people, but to get into politics to abuse the people. No matter whether it's in school, no matter whether it's at work, wherever you find this authority and those that's under authority, you always find abuse. I found it in the military and the Army. I'm quite sure you found it, Emil, in the Navy. Doc, I'm quite sure you found it in the universities. So let's get into this. Doc, when you hear that term, the use and abuse of authority, what does that mean to you?
I guess I'd rather back up a little bit and talk about the idea of the generation of authority.
Okay.
And I'm reminded of Dr. John Henry Clark. Dr. Clark says quite simply that one thing is for sure: no people who are coming to rule over another people or take over another people have ever exported freedom, liberty, and justice. The only thing that they import is oppression. And this issue reminds me of Chinua Achebe's book, Things Fall Apart, where you have Europeans who are coming into a area, the lower Niger, with the people of Umofia, and they literally create their own school. They bring their own religious institution and have the unmitigated gall to build a prison and to lock the Africans up in that prison when they see fit. So in many ways, what we're seeing is often an agreement to honor authority from a power, a foreign power, usually for some reason. It could be fear, could be that you were born into the system or what have you. And one thing is for sure, when you look at world history, I don't care what era you're looking at, what people you're looking at, one of the things that will stand out is quite simply that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you're looking at a nation like ours that has, in many ways, absolute power, they're able to make you disappear if they so desire. They're able to maintain your freedom for the same reason, for the same crime or offense that they put someone away forever on their whim. So in many ways, that's their authority and that's their power. And Lord knows that being people of color, we've seen an abuse of that power over and over and over again. And I yield, brother.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Brother Mill, what about you? When you hear that term, the use and abuse of authority, what comes to your mind?
So, how I see that in the military, especially, is when those of a much higher rank than you can talk to you a certain way that they can and get away with it, and like boss you around, manipulate and control you, and have you do stuff for them, and not giving a damn about your morale and well-being. And that's actually one of the biggest issues in the like Navy wide. I'm not sure in other branches, but Navy wide is a really big issue, which is why a lot of sailors have such low morale. Um, they commit suicide and end their lives because they just can't take it no more as a result of that abuse of power and authority.
Mm, definitely, definitely. We got a comment says that power is intoxicating. In the army, when people make E5, which is sergeant, they will start tripping over the same stuff they were doing 2 weeks ago. And that's definitely true now that they done got that a little more rank. What they were doing 2 weeks ago, they see you doing it now, it's a problem, but it wasn't a problem when you were doing it. Is there an automatic uh, role that says that you have to submit to this authority without you even acknowledging that they are authority over you? When you're dealing with governments, when you're dealing with police, you're dealing with judges, because even the sovereigns say, you don't have no authority over me. So, Doc, is there a certain law that say, you actually do have to, do what I tell you to do? You don't have no real freedom. You don't have no real authority to say no.
Brother, I don't know if there's a law in the books of America that we can point to that would say that very thing that you're saying. But I do know the ability to snatch you off the street and put you inside of a jail or prison is a very persuasive thing. When you look at the sovereign brothers and sisters with their multiple arguments for why they're above the law or not impacted by the law here, that they're not driving a car, they're actually traveling. Some of the things that they do with as far as wordplay. Ultimately, if you watch some of those cases, they almost always lose in a court of law. They're going to be found in contempt of court. They're going to be incarcerated. They're going to be all these different things. So you have this compelling force, a force that compels you to follow, if not follow, but at least recognize that law. Because if you did not recognize that law, if you did not understand that law, the moment that the police attempted to handcuff you, you would consider it tantamount to being a kidnapping, and in your mind kind of be justified in taking whatever measures you need to protect your freedom. And I've yet to see people really doing that. So I think that even in the resistance of the existing laws, that there is almost a capitulation, an agreement that, okay, I'll go in with you and I'll fight it while I'm in there. But regardless of which tactic they take, that law that's being applied, those rules that are being applied, are going to be applied regardless of if you agree to submit to them or not. In fact, they might be applied more stringently because you choose not to honor them. And I yield.
Mm. Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Doc. Emil, since you recently, well, not recently, but you did get promoted, um, now being at a higher rank, and so with you being at a higher rank now, you have authority. Have you had to use that authority in any way since you've been promoted?
Um, Not yet, but even after getting promoted, I still treat my junior sailors equally,
Mm-hmm.
not be too hard on them.
Mm-hmm. And
Because I abide by the golden rule,
mm,
not doing to others what you don't want done to you.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I remember as a junior sailor being talked to like trash and treated like trash. I know exactly how that feels. So I don't do it to other people, especially me as a now as a petty officer. I don't treat my junior sailors the way I was treated before.
Okay. All right. And so that's like kind of your guiding light in how you command yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Understandable. Understandable. I know when I had got to Fort Campbell and I was an E3 at the time, and we were in our office. We were finance and accounting, and I'm trying to learn the new system. And Private Burst was doing all this talking, and I couldn't hear the person that's trying to tell me, what's going on. So I because I was an E3, he was an E1, I had rank over him. So I told him, I said, Private Burst at ease. I can't hear what's going on over here. And so he was offended, but he had no choice but to shut the hell up because I just told him, at ease. But when we got back to the barracks that night, they had a meeting, him and two other privates, and they were like, look here, because we all shared the same barracks. You can't come in here and start throwing your rank around like that because you're not gonna have many friends. And I explained to them, I said, well, first of all, I didn't come here to make friends. That's the first thing. Second thing is I was being trained and I couldn't even hear because you were so loud. So I had to, put you in some order so that the training can go and I can understand what needs to be done. Um, Doc, when it comes to authority and when it comes to Black men understanding the authority we have and not being afraid to use it, what stops us from going there? And I just gave the example of what happened to me, where I had to use my little authority, and then they got together to say, hey, look, we ain't having that. You can't do that or you're not going to be our friend. But for me, I didn't have that problem because I knew I didn't come there to be friends. So what is there? And we're going to look at different examples where, there's a hesitant to use the power that you got.
Mhm. One of the things is quite simply, as Brother Emil put it, we are very conscious of how we were treated, and we want to be encouraging. We want to be uplifting. We want to aid our fellow brothers and sisters, and not ever be in a position where we look as if where it appears as if we are denouncing them, disciplining them, or what have you. You see that within Black America, even in regards to our dating habits, that we don't recognize class differences. We will, if you're a good person, you're someone that we vibe with, what have you, we'll try and make something work out with you. When you're in a corporate setting, when you're in a professional setting or anything like that, that doesn't necessarily work because quite simply we often have that line blurred where those that we're in charge of look at us as friends. And if they can look at us as friends, they can look at us as peers. If they're looking at us as peers, they're looking at us as if we're on the same level. I can't. I wish I had $1 for every time I had to tell a young person, "Listen, we're not equals.
Mm.
You haven't been where I've been. You don't know what I know, and you don't even recognize that I'm trying to position you for success at this very moment because your understanding of life is that limited." I
Mm.
think that we need to take the position of authority, especially when we have people that are underneath us. Very much like parents should do that with children and prepare them and position them for success. Model what it is that they should be, and at those moments where they're not towing the line, and it's going to hold them back from advancement. Those are the moments that you're going to have to kind of correct them. And it's better. And I say this about my students all the time. I would rather be the one that corrects you than a harsh outside society, a corporate America, a university, a school district. Because when they go to correct you, they're going to take your job. And more than likely, your engagement with them means that you got a mortgage or rent, you got car payment, you got children, you got things that you truly do need to maintain that job for. So I think that we owe a duty to treat them with respect and dignity, but yet at the same time, to teach them how to be. And so often, our people don't know how to be because we're the first of our family, of our generation to go to college, to go into the military, to make it into corporate America, to become an entrepreneur. There's a duty, a call to duty for those of us who know how to be, to model how our people can get ahead by being. And I yield, brother.
Mm, awesome. Thank you, Doc. And we also got a comment I want you to deal with. It says, in the establishment of government, we don't give up a portion of our sovereignty to give the power of law and order to said government. No, let me don't we give up a portion of our sovereignty to give the power of law and order to said government? Um,
Most
and
certainly. Most certainly. You know, that's there's an agreement amongst the citizenry that, especially when you're talking about within what should be considered a some form of democratic government, there's an understanding that we're going to all go forward collectively, and when we gather again, if it didn't work out, we can argue and we can debate civilly and be able to correct whatever misstep we may have made. So yeah, there is an agreement that if there wasn't an agreement, you're talking about living in a society of anarchy where you can do whatever it is that you want to do, however you want to do it. Consider driving. There are laws and rules to driving that work together to ensure or to increase the chances and opportunities that each and every one of us reaches our destination safely. And everyone has to agree to those rules. We can't have a situation where some of us believe, 90% of us believe that a green light means to go forward, and 10% of us decide, no, it's a red light. You would have collisions all day. So yes, you do give up a portion of your sovereignty to live up under a quote unquote government. Now, if you decide that you're a sovereign citizen and you're not going to give up any portions of your being, of your mankind, you're gonna have some problems up inside of a government that has a police force and a military force. It's going to be an uphill struggle, and one that you're going to tire from before they do. And I yield.
but Doc, let me ask you this though, because America is a little different, right? I don't know about France. I don't know about the UK. I don't know about no other country. I don't know what their constitution says, but uh, the this government, um, the founding fathers did not want a strong central government bullying everybody else. I mean, am I correct? That's they didn't. What we have now was not in their theme of how America should be.
Uh I don't know if I can agree with that wholeheartedly because you have to revert back to the late 18th century and really go back from that to really begin to comprehend and understand what the founding fathers are actually reacting to. What they're actually reacting to is a tyrannical rule, what they consider to be
Mhm.
tyrannical rule coming from England. So
Right.
everything that they're talking about is being predicated upon not allowing a tyranny
Mhm.
exist. And secondary to that, Lonnie Guinier, who was a Bill Clinton appointee that he ultimately ended up abandoning, she wrote a brilliant book titled The Tyranny of the Majority. This government that we have, you're correct when you say that we don't want central rule, but they do still want order. Um, at the same time that they're resisting the tyranny of a king or a queen because they're coming out from under the rule of the crown, they also want to ensure that you don't have a tyrannical rule amongst the majority populace, that all voices are going to be able to be heard. And it's the reason why you have a House of Representatives that is predicated upon population and a U.S. Senate that is predicated upon the existence of a state. So you have both sides that are going to be covered. So we can debate and we can talk about what the founding fathers were envisioning and talking about as far as a strong central government. Um, I think that the supremacy clause that you find in the United States Constitution speaks volumes. That when a state has a problem with the federal government, that the federal government rules. So in a way, that is kind of an endorsement of a strong centralized government. Yet at the exact same time, it is not a endorsement for tyrannical rule.
So, Doc, I want to share this, and I want to get what you think and what Emil think, um, because I think this what I'm about to share, and I know you already know it. Um, I believe it's centrally critical to what it is that we're dealing with.
Okay.
And, so let me blow it up a little bigger. Okay, so this passage says that we hold these truths to be self evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are liberty, our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Now, this part
Mhm.
right here, we're talking about from the consent of the government. As we opened, and I said that we never gave consent. I know I ain't never gave these crackers no consent, but in their document, they're talking about from the consent of the governed. So black men, we got to start to ask, when did we give these crackers our consent to govern us? Then it says that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Now, I point this out because black men, I want us, damn it, to understand what's being said here, what's being laid down as the premise for action. So the first thing is, we didn't give these bastards consent to govern us. They stole us and then forced this way of life on us. That's the first thing. Second, once we became freed, supposedly.
Hold on. Before you go forward,
Okay.
this is written by Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
Okay. Let me play the devil's advocate, assuming a
Okay.
persona of Thomas Jefferson to what it is that you're saying, so we can go through it point by point. Okay. Um, First point, I'm not talking about or to you.
Mm-hmm.
When I drafted this document, you were in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to remember that probably the greatest evidence that Jefferson is not thinking about us is quite simply the fact that number one, Jefferson's a slaveholder.
Right.
Number two, Jefferson is leading one of the leading voices against British tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even on the radar of what it
Right.
is I'm saying. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the expiration of time leads us to try and inject ourselves into it. However, I will admit that many persons of African descent do seize my words and go to court with those words and are able to secure their freedom. The idea that all men are created equal. There were some judges in my day who allowed that argument, that line, to be utilized by the enslaved to secure their freedom. But I am telling you, I wasn't thinking about you or your people when I wrote that.
And I would retort that you're correct. You wasn't thinking about us
Mhm.
when that was written. But since I think it was 1867 with the passage of the Civil Rights Act, that made us quote unquote citizens. That gave us the rights now that we fall up under what you wasn't considering talking to us about. Now it applies to us with the
Okay.
passage of
Okay.
of, of that civil rights.
So you're saying that with the abolishment of slavery,
Mm-hmm.
13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, providing you with citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
Civil Rights Act of 1867. Your argument is quite simply that now you are a citizen that is on equal footing and equal status.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I hear your argument, but I'm telling you, number one, that stanza wasn't initially intended for you, and I would argue that even after slavery, we still have different gradients of citizenship. If you did not own land, you couldn't vote, regardless of what your race or your ethnicity was. Even your Malcolm X says it this way. He says quite simply, "You're not a first class citizen. What you are is a 21st century slave, 20th century slave." And what Malcolm is talking about is that if you were a citizen, you wouldn't have the problems that you had. You wouldn't be almost chained to the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, and you wouldn't be so politically powerless if you were actually a citizen. So I would argue that the spirit of Jefferson still reigns here. That you're still not a citizen. A citizen.
And I would retort that by inspiration, by spirit, you're correct. But if we're going to talk solely letter of law, then we are. The problem is not that it's written that we're not, because it's written that we are now. So it is that spirit that white folks have that says, I don't want this so-called nigger to be my equal or to be over me. So I'm going to withhold him from getting what he rightfully deserves by law. So by letter of law, we're entitled. By letter of law. By spirit of I'm better, then you try to withhold from me what's rightfully mine. So by letter of law, this applies to us. By letter of law, it applies. And there's no wiggle room around that.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Which
We don't need wiggle room because because we're the ones with the power. And just as you're complaining all the way up to 2023 about the uneven and misapplication of the law, we're the ones that emphasize what we want to emphasize, and we're the ones that let slide what we want to slide. We have the power to do that. And even some of your people who work for us within our institutions would agree with that. They would side with us and say, well, on this case, no, we ain't going to apply it. So the idea of thinking that that you can be black in America and a literalist, I guess you can, but you don't have an ounce of power um, to make the law applicable to you.
well, that we're talking. See, what you're talking about is your ability because you're in power to do A, B, C, D, and E. And that's what your ability to do because
Yeah,
you're in power. But what I'm talking about is
yeah,
this
and,
law
and, and, and,
says
that, and that's
that I
really
have
all that
the right
matters.
to do.
But that's really
I
all.
have the
But wait
right
a
to
minute,
do.
hold on. But hold on, ain't that really what matters? But isn't that all that
No,
really matters?
no. That's not all that really matters. And the reason why it's not all what really matters is because, as it states here, where it says that you have the right to abolish, to alter, or to abolish that government that is harmful, that is destructive to your life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness. That is your obligation to destroy that government. When they gave us the Civil Rights Act of 1866, they said that, as it was written, that this is our vindication to say that we are Americans. Now, the problem was this: black men, instead of standing up and fighting back, we receded to the threats. We receded to, nigga, you ain't gonna do this, nigga, you ain't gonna do, I'm gonna do this to you, and we receded when we should have met them and gave them everything that they was looking for. That's what we should have done, because they established law and quote unquote order, and then black people bought into it because they wanted to be accepted. Now the vindication is, now I've given you just what I've gotten. I've given you everything that I got. Now, are you going to be as fierce as I am when I say, nigga, you ain't going to be over me? Are you going to be as fierce to say, cracker, you ain't going to be over me? See, we didn't meet that fierceness with our
Y'all,
fierceness.
y'all, y'all are afraid to do that.
Back then, yes. But now, no. Now, we ready to whoop ass. Now, we ready to meet you on that battlefield. Because Lord knows, and this is one thing that we stress with B1. We stress this, that this is our time now. And we don't have the right to back down. We don't have that thought should never be in our mind. When we meet the enemy on the battlefield, there's never no retreat. There's only move forward and destroy what is in your way. Because we're going to have to mentally do battle with them over these issues. And this is why it's important for black men to get it together. Go ahead, Doc.
But what I think Jefferson would say to all that is, I understand your point, and I understand your desire to want to overthrow tyrannical rule. That really you're operating out of the best tradition of in the probably the most strident and powerful tradition that gave birth to this nation. You're literally talking about tapping into the labor of producing a nation. Jefferson, keep in mind, Jefferson is a very different type of individual. Although he held these truths to be self-evident, he was being hypocritical as he wrote it because he knew that he wasn't including black folk. Jefferson would, in many ways, challenge you. And if you go and you read his writings, notes on the state of Virginia, Jefferson makes a very biased and bigoted argument that black folk will never get it together because we are psychologically inferior to whites. And so I think that if we're talking about today, the challenge that not only Jefferson, but the other founding fathers and all of the racial bigots that serve as guideposts and signposts to this nation, they would challenge you and say, how many troops do you have? Okay. You're trying to overthrow modern day Rome. And they would await your response because in every way, this idea of declaring independence, this idea of the United States Constitution, it goes no further than your ability to enforce it individually and collect as a collective group. And if you can't enforce it, it's not worth the paper that it's written on, and in many ways not applicable to you and your group because you guys don't have the courage, the power, the organization, and the political will to go ahead and make it apply to you.
And that's what I would say, that maybe that was true back then, but now this is not true. When we have the political maturity to understand what is our plight and understand what is the answer to the problems that we face, that there is no such thing of some nice cracker that's coming to save you. We are the answers to our problems, and it starts by taking power. That's why I say that when we come into office and we take power, there's certain things that's going to be done on day one. Like I said, day one, police department, if you're not black first, you're being fired. We're not having nobody on the police department that's not a black first person. That mindset of black first has to be your dominating rule. It has to be. And to understand very clearly, you could be a police officer, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, but you're a black person first. So my total view is from the perspective of black people, regardless of what your occupation is, regardless of what your station in life. You're the Joint Chief of Staff. Your view is from a black perspective and how we have to do for the upliftment of our people, period, point and blank. That there's no way that we can juggle that. There's no way that we can play around with that. It is what it has to be in order for us to be free. It is what it has to be. And if Thomas Jefferson, was walking today, or if I was alive back then, I would hang his ass. I would find a tree and hang his ass, because that's what needs to be done. And us as black men, we have to be able to think like that. We have to be able to think like that, that there's a tree calling for your head to be hung up on. These are the things that has to be in our mentality. It has to be there, because we're not asking for power, we're taking power. We're taking power.
I hear you. But once again, channeling the spirit of Thomas Jefferson, he would first ask, where y'all get this Negro right here at? Number one. And number two, he would say quite simply, on Monticello, which is his slave plantation, Jefferson had children with a black woman, Sally Hemings. And Jefferson ultimately never frees any of them. However, what Jefferson would ask is what Jefferson would be thankful of would be quite simply that the things that you're espousing, the things that you're saying, especially talking about hanging me, I'm glad that my people don't have that spirit of irrationality. And to move it to present day, I would ask how many of our people actually have that mindset, that viewpoint, um, and how many of them are simply trying to find a more comfy, cozy space within America. And not necessarily that saying the hell with the majority of black folk, but in many ways having a position where they're saying, I'm just trying to make it. I'm trying to get by. And if the path to making it and getting by is cooperating with whites, how many of them do you think would go with that as far as a percentage?
Well, I would think in the modern times, there would be more of us because I say a lot of things that other black people, and I'm talking about black people who, have pretty decent station in life. They got letters behind their names and stuff that they'll hear me say it, then they may not say it, but they know damn well I'm telling the truth. And they'll say, yeah, you telling it, you saying it. Now they're not gonna get out there and say it, but they'll support me behind the scenes to go say it because I'm saying what they want to say, and I have that freedom to be able to say what needs to be said. So that theme is running in Black America. It is running in Black men. And once they get that comfortable level to see he's saying it, he's still living, he's making progress, I'm going over there with him. I'm gonna run with him. So it's that time now that the message has to be getting out there, and they have to be able to see, yeah, he ain't gone nowhere. He's being successful. He's gathering up steam, and they'll continue to come. They'll come at first at night under the cover of darkness so nobody see them coming. But when they see us being successful, then they'll get the strength to come in the heat of the day and be right there with you. Because now we've already made the way forward. And so it's a day that Thomas Jefferson may not ever wanted to see, but it is the day that our God has declared that is our rule now, and ain't a damn thing the cracker can do about it. It's our time. It is our time. I want to bring Emil in. Emil, now, as you being a Filipino, and you're hearing what we're talking about, and
Yeah, so I wanted to add that the stuff you're talking about going into office and making drastic changes to the government, even with law enforcement, it's very reminiscent to what Idi Amin was trying to live by when he used to be president and leader of Uganda. He was trying to kick the Indians and the Asians out of Uganda because they were being an economic threat to the Ugandans. So Idi Amin had a black first mindset to kick these people out and let Ugandans run their own economy, their own system, in their own country, and not let these invaders come in and take their jobs and do stuff for them. And I think that's what yeah, there needs to be more black people like you in America who will carry that mindset. and enforce and act on it. That needs to
And
be done. That needs to be done soon. You know, if Black Americans are to uh, live in peace and stop dealing with the injustices and oppression that they've been dealing with for centuries.
and let me ask you this, Emil. Your history as a Filipino, the Filipino people, what is that history in the intermingling with white people? So like for us, we went through slavery and oppression, colonization. What did your people go through dealing with white folk?
So it's not slavery, but like still colonization, and like what's the word I'm looking for? Like total, complete indoctrination and control, where the Spaniards and Americans brought all their lifestyles and instilled that to Filipino culture. That's why I feel like 99% of Filipinos um right now are either Christians or Roman Catholic, and we got elements of Spanish ingrained within our language.
Mm, mm. So
But so like you're asking how that was like for us in contrast to what you dealt with the cracker. Uh what you have what y'all have been through, I'd say, is far worse than what any other group in the world has been through.
mm,
So when you have all these Asians doing all these protests, stop Asian hate, I think that's bullshit.
mhm, mhm.
Because Asians have not been through slavery. Asians have not had their culture and language and humanity stripped off from them. And as a matter of fact, it's a lot of Asians you see that's helping to contribute to the oppression, systematic oppression of black people. And you see a lot of them also as like senators, law enforcement, governors. I think Doc was trying to say something, but I can't hear him.
Doc, you want to say something? Doc, you on mute. I think he froze.
Yeah. I saw him like, yeah, his mouth was moving as if he was talking, but we can't hear him.
Doc, you on mute. We can't hear you. Doc, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did you want to jump in and say something?
No.
Okay. Okay. So I want to and I want one more question for Emil. When they came to, I guess, to colonize where y'all live at, and you say now 99% of the Filipinos
Well,
are.
I think that percentage is wrong because there's actually another portion of Filipinos that are actually Muslims, but
Mhm.
like the vast majority of the Philippines are either Christian or Roman Catholics. But sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, and so with that colonization, did they teach you all to hate yourself, as like they taught us to hate ourselves? Did
Oh
they
yeah,
do the same thing?
yes, definitely. Like a lot of Filipinos, and like they have gained notoriety for this. As a matter of fact, a lot of Filipinos are like, as I mentioned earlier, they are white worshippers, like white worshippers to the core. They have like whole advertisements of beauty products that enhance their skin and um make themselves look like lighter or whiter, whatever the fuck they're trying to be. Like in other words, they're trying to be Caucasian.
Mm,
And a lot of Filipino women also have a huge extreme obsession with white men. They want to lay with them, have kids with them because they want to have mixed biracial kids who are light skinned, like lighter skinned than the typical Filipino that's darker skinned.
mm-hmm,
It's like it's been so since colonization, it's been ingrained within our culture for centuries. I don't see that dying down anytime soon.
mm, mm, mm. Wow. And is there among the Filipinos, like like us, we're black first. Is there any a group among the Filipinos that's try to get y'all to come out of that white mindset?
I'm not.
And
I'm not trying to put myself above others or think highly of myself, but I'd say I'm the only one. Like literally, the only one in the whole entire island of the Philippines that probably has the same mindset as y'all.
mm,
Like when I say Filipinos are white worshippers to the core, they are white worshippers to the core. They love white people to death. It's not even funny.
mm. Wow.
Yeah, it's sad.
Very.
And I honestly don't want to waste my time waking up a whole mass of people that's died. I'm not certain and confident is gonna wake up anytime soon. Then I think it's a waste of time.
Mm,
I have much higher hopes for black people than all these Asians that have been colonized and done wrong by white people.
definitely. Definitely.
I
I
mean,
want
I still wish my people the best. I don't
to.
wish our ultimate demise. But I just hope like the time comes soon where the light touches them. They start waking up, just like how a lot of black people over the world are waking up. And if we can unify, if we can all be unified, everybody that's got done wrong by the cracker, if we can all unify against the cracker, we can outrun, outnumber, and subdue the cracker.
Mm-hmm.
That's what must happen.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I agree with that. I want to welcome Earth Angel 1105 Remix to the program. Peace and blessings, Queen. We're glad that you're with us. I want to go and share a video and come back and let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let me see. Oops. Because we need black men to be men. If we're going to, not if, but we're going to do what need to be done, we're going to need black men to stand up, damn it, and let's be men. So let's take a look at this.
White people get out the car when the police get out. You hear two doors shut. You want to tell me why the you just pulled me over back there? Brenda, get back in the car! Niggas get pulled over and call their mama. Mama, they behind me. Oh, Lord. I told you to get your license. Where you at? She tell your daddy, Ray, they got him. Them black daddies be glad you going to jail. That's good enough for his ass. Let him go down there and clean that shit up. This is good. He ain't working no house. Shit, Fucking all my goddamn heating food up. Let him go down there and clean that shit up. This is good. The Mexicans get pulled over and got no license, registration, or nothing. License, registration. Yes. What the fuck is yes? Did you hear what the fuck I just said? Yes.
Warm round of applause.
All right, so that was I forget his name, but in his little skit that he did,
Mike Epps.
Mike Epps, yes, Mike Epps. Doc, talk about it. What you just see, what you just feel, what you think about it.
You know, a part of it is comedic, and I harken back on the greatest comedian that I ever heard, Richard Pryor. Pryor talked about race. Pryor and Paul Mooney talked about race, talked about social issues, the absence of social justice. And what makes those things so poignant and powerful is that they're grounded in some element of truth. And to just really deal with what he's talking about as far as African Americans getting pulled over, there isn't a black man or woman that I know that, even with the patrol officers being close to them, that don't get a queasiness in their stomach, who don't get some type of concern. And there's a part of me that believes that that's a part of our inheritance from our ancestors as far as DNA goes, because we know the inherent danger associated with figures of power that are emanating from a white institution, be they black officers, brown officers, or white officers. And we also understand that they have the power and the quote unquote, once again, authority to wreak havoc in our life, to wreak havoc in a way that it's darn near impossible to get out of that type of trouble. So I understand what Mike Epps is saying and how it could be so funny where the entire audience would laugh because all of them can in every way identify with what's going on. And, you know, there's much truth there. And one has to really put themselves in that situation and ask a question of why is it that black folk, black men in particular, do not behave like white men do and get out the car and bring the argument, the attack, the conflict to the law enforcement officer. We see it repeatedly on camera, and we see them go home. Yet at the same time, we see us being passive, meek, and mild, and sometimes ending up in either a jail cell, prison cell, or a morgue. And I yield, brother.
Excellent, Doc. Brother Mill, what you think about the video we just showed?
So I had to step out and use the bathroom. I didn't even see the video. But based on what Doc was describing, was in a video about black men who got pulled over by the police.
I'll replay it. Hold on, I'll replay it. It's not that long. I'll replay it.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
White people get out the car when the police get out. You hear two doors shut. You want to tell me why the you just pulled me over back there? Brenda, get back in the car! Niggas get pulled over and call their mama. Mama, they behind me. Oh, Lord. I told you to get your license. Where you at? She tell your daddy, Ray, they got him. Them black daddies be glad you going to jail. That's good enough for his ass. Let him go down there and clean that shit up. This is good. He ain't working no house. Shit, fucking all my goddamn heating food up. Let him go down there and clean that shit up. This is good. The Mexicans get pulled over and got no license, registration, or nothing. License, registration. Yes. What the fuck is yes? Did you hear what the fuck I just said? Yes.
So that was the video, Emil. What's your thoughts on it?
So he's explaining the passiveness of black people when they get pulled over by the police.
Mm-hmm.
I think uh, the reason why uh, they're passive when they get pulled over by the police, and as Doc was asking, why can't they be like white people and confront the police? I think it's because of the trauma that's developed from all these police shootings that been happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess they've developed the mindset to follow the law or follow the law, obey the law, or you actually get shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm taking it.
Okay. Okay. And Doc, there's a certain part of a man's manhood that has to be turned on. That even when Mike Epps was doing the walk, how white people walk in the video, when walking up to the cops about why he was walking with authority. There's a certain switch that has to be turned on for the black man to walk with that kind of authority, knowing that he's the law. Talk about that. What gets you in that mode that I am the law, not you, cracker. I am the law. Because now when why did you pull me over? That's a talk about that and that switch that has to be turned on for black men.
Well, the switch is one of authority, but with that switch comes a understanding that you asserting your authority, and which many people are going to look at as a challenge. You better be ready to back that challenge up. You can't be out there selling wolf tickets, because when you're dealing with those rascals that we're talking about, they're going to try you. Okay, so if you step out there with that authority, you better be ready to substantiate it. You better be ready to make them recognize and kneel before your authority. The problem with that for us is quite simply that you're dealing with an overconfident opponent, an opponent who has no evidence whatsoever, except for maybe one or two incidents over the last 30, 40 years, that black folk have any say, any authority, any power. It is a level of grandiose confidence, but that grandiose confidence is backed up by historical realities. It is backed up by contemporary realities where we see even black legislative officials hemming and hawing in front of white folk in the Senate, in Congress, going along to get along, being quick to tell our people, well, now's not the time or the place for us to take a stand. There'll be another time, a better time for us to be able to stand up. That's where all of that has its genesis at. And you have to be darn near John Shaft to agree to go out there by yourself, because you have to have that understanding that if I do this, if I go out here by myself, I'm going to be in this battle, in this fight by myself. And there's a level of trouble, and I say this often, there's a level of trouble that black folk can get in, especially black men, that there is no black person who has power, who has and also has a will to aid them in getting out of that trouble. Those things often don't exist for us when we get in trouble. But I yield.
So, Doc, are you saying that the black man can't be that type of man
No, I didn't say that.
without
I didn't.
support
I
of other people?
Without support from others, no, he can't. You begin to, I'm a hip hop head. Go back and listen to KRS-One's Edutainment, where he has these different skits, and he says, you take George Washington, as big and bad as he is, and you put him in the middle of Valley Forge, surrounded by the British, he can do nothing. You take Thomas Jefferson, surround him by the British, he can do nothing. But you take the same Jefferson, you take the same Washington, and you surround them with like-minded individuals who agree with the way that they see the world, and they can defeat the British and change the world. History is not going, especially the type of history that we're talking about, is not going to be made by singular individuals. It's going to be made by a small group of like-minded individuals, like what you're talking about with B1. If you go out there by yourself, you're going to get slaughtered. But if you go out there and you have Earth Angel, you have Deacons of Reality, you have all of these other like-minded individuals with you, willing to toe the line with you, you can uplift and liberate Black folk. There is a need for consensus, a need for like-minded individuals. Yet at the same time, there's also an ancillary understanding and need to understand that everybody ain't coming, because everybody don't have the will, even the will or desire to be free. I guarantee you, if you were to ask some of our people, which would they prefer, true freedom, liberty, and justice, or a Birkin bag? Many of them would take a Birkin bag every single time.
You know, I want to, this comment says, it's like the overseer delivering punishment to the slaves. Let everybody see what will happen to them when they mess with us, police. A strategy to keep you in check. And
Without a doubt. I mean, you think about what made the Rodney King beating different. The only thing that made the Rodney King beating different is white folk got a chance to see it. Black folk know that the police been beating us like they whooped Rodney King for years. It is a tactic. If you go back and you look at the transatlantic slave trade, we have these great diary entries of how to instill fear in the African, because the African's mind is blown. He doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't know how far he has traveled. He knows that he's been on this ship for probably 90 days. And one of the ways to go ahead and substantiate that fear, to let you know that you are dealing with the incarnation of the devil, is to take the most pregnant Black woman that is on that ship, pull down 2 tree limbs, tie her legs to it, and have everybody standing around watching as you cut both limbs and her body's ripped in half and the baby falls out and they stomp that baby to death. The message is clear. You act up, this is what you're going to get. The message is clear with Rodney King. You act up, this is what you're going to get, regardless of if it was taped or if it was not taped. Black folk have been watching other Black folk get their asses whipped for years. It's an example. It's a demonstration. It ain't no rumor that we whoop Black people's asses. It's a truth and a reality. Stay outside long enough, you'll see it. So it's a way of keeping us in line, keeping us in check. Because there's something about the fear. And we saw this with the murder of George Floyd. All those Black folks standing around and Derek Chauvin doing what it is that he does, as if he has a force field around him. Mm-hmm. None of you knew. You all knew. Don't touch this force field. Because you think we doing something bad to this monkey, wait till you see what we do to you when we get you behind closed doors. And it will be black, white, red, yellow, and brown whooping on your ass. Mm-hmm. That's the message. And that's what, if we have to be, if we're nothing else, we have to be consistent when we're talking about these matters. Let's be very clear that if we can talk about DNA and cells having memory on positive things, Lord knows they would have them on negative things as well. Mm-hmm. I believe that it's programmed in your DNA to avoid them. And I also believe that it is programmed through socialization. And you can look at how black mothers deal with their sons, and some Black fathers with their sons. They're trying to raise them up with discipline, not for success, but discipline to avoid getting caught up within that system. Because once they get you in that system, It's hard to get you out. My father, one of the things he repeatedly said to me, he said, "Boy, don't ever get so far out there that I can't get you back."
Mm.
And I think that that's one of the telltale signs of love from black folk for younger black folk. Be careful, because there is a way that they can kidnap you and lock you away for the next 100 years, and we'll never see you again. Regardless of if you did it or you did not do it, it is enough that they accused you and they put 12 people up on a jury who also said, yeah, he probably did it, lock him away, because somebody going to jail for it. And I yield.
Mm.
So,
Doc, what?
Maurice,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to touch on some things that Doc said
Okay.
about fear being instilled in the DNA of Black people. So I wanted to I just wanted to share a story that I shared with you one time about my second deployment when I was talking about crackers to these little group of Black people in the birthing. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure if you remember that. So
Mm-hmm.
I was so in the breathing after work, I was with these group of black guys, and I forgot how the whole discussion and conversation started, but I was telling them about the nature of crackers, how you know they are still deeply racist inside, and they don't give a damn about black people. So this first class petty officer who was black, who was in the berthing listening to that whole entire discussion, he snitched on my ass and told me to the other first classes in the ship. And the next day, they had a personal meeting with me in the office, and they told me that next time I call white people crackers, I'm going up to mass and will face non-judicial punishment. And it's all seeing this kind of stuff in the 21st century. It's reminiscent of um the times of slavery, when when there were black people trying to escape enslavement and uplift and bring other black people with them, but you have like whistleblowers that will snitch on their asses, and they end up getting caught by their slave masters, and horrible things would uh, get done to them as punishment, like getting their limbs or toes cut off and then burnt.
Exactly.
And also, Doc touched on one of the talking points I was discussing on earlier about how there must be a consensus of like-minded black people, like you and the others in the group chat, in order for black people to be truly liberated. And I think that's one of the issues when it comes to people like Malcolm X and Gaddafi getting assassinated and taken out. I think the issue is the people that they are trying to wake up are like too far gone and like asleep. They don't want to wake up, and the very people that are trying to get them out of their enslavement, and the condition that they're in, they view them as too radical, too radicalized. So they eventually let these crackers do away with them. Uh, I, I, I don't think it's just fear being ingrained in the DNA of black people over the decades and centuries. I also think it's black people becoming too comfortable with the system they're living in, that they don't even want to bother to like fight against it and completely do away with it.
Yep, comfortability can be a problem. It can be a problem. Doc, Deacon of Reality says that my father taught me there's no such word as can't when seeking liberation. And here is something that's passed from father to son. That communication of, look here, we don't say that. That word doesn't exist. You go out and you obtain it,
Yeah.
period, point blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, Doc.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's socialization. You know, and socialization is a very powerful thing, of raising up a child in the way that he should be, and when he's older, he shall not depart from it. Yet at the exact same time, there's also this thing called nature, the entire argument of nature versus nurture, and which one is more important. You know, we have situations where children who may come from two parents who were wayward in one way or another, not being raised with each other, and they ultimately never knowing each other, they ultimately end up in the same station in life. Nature versus nurture. So you would hope that Deacon's of Reality's father not only passed on the socialization of teaching his son or daughter what it is that they're supposed to be doing, but at the exact same time, they passed it on through DNA as well, through memories as well. There's a reason why there is a class of us that are the way that we are. And it's not all nurture. We were built differently. We have a different understanding of how life works and what the possibilities of life actually are. So when you talk about, you know, that there is no such thing as the word can't, that may be true when you're talking about a revolution, but there's also no guarantee that you will survive the revolution either. So those two
Doc,
things are going to go hand in hand.
because that, whether or not you survive the revolution shouldn't even be a thought, right?
Definitely, definitely. It can't be a thought if you're operating against the enemy that we know that we're operating against, and in the fact that you're in many ways dedicating your life to this cause. So no, you know, you're not even really a revolutionary if you're only doing this if at the end of it you get a position of importance. The goal of the revolutionary, is to go ahead and make their contribution to overthrowing an unjust system. Period. And as you've heard me talk repeatedly, Huey P. Newton's construct, where he says the revolutionary is a doomed man. He's either going to die on the battlefield, having failed to achieve the revolution, or he'll succeed on the battlefield and no longer be of any use or utility for his people that he helped free. So, yeah, you can't go into a revolution talking about, you know, if I survive or this or that. You know, make your contribution and let that be what it is.
You know, we have Eric Adams, who is the mayor of New York, a
New
black guy.
York, New York. But yeah, they didn't got some busloads of people that came up there.
Oh
Greg,
yeah.
Greg Abbott said he's sending more. He said we got plenty of buses. We gonna keep sending them too.
And so we're going to watch this video because this is a black mayor and dealing with a problem. And we see, as you just talked about Abbott, you see how these white folks deal with it. They put their ass on the bus and ship their ass on out. Now, this is a problem that has to be dealt with. Now, let's look at this black man and see how he's talking about dealing with it. Let me share screen.
We start tonight with New York City at a potential breaking point. We have been following the story, as you know, for months. Tens of thousands of migrants arriving from from Central and South America and West Africa, straining city resources. We got here tonight because of what the mayor said over the last 24 hours. We want to walk you through all of this. The mayor saying the crisis, quote, will destroy New York City, unleashing his frustrations with a fury we haven't seen before, targeting the White House and governors, busing migrants to sanctuary cities, even calling the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, a madman. The White House responding tonight, defending their records, helping cities across the country. The crisis spilling into the largest school system in America. More than 1 million children returning to class today, with 20,000 new students from families seeking asylum. The school system getting another $110 million to the budget, but there are worries that resources will still be stretched to the limit. The city's shelter system stretched past its capacity this summer. At one point, more migrants in city shelters than homeless Americans. Some asylum seekers were able to get beds inside hotels, while others slept on the streets outside. Still, some parents are optimistic the city can handle the crisis. But now, more than ever, this issue spanning the border to cities thousands of miles away, and it's hitting close to home. NBC correspondent Valerie Castro has the story.
Let me tell you something, New Yorkers.
The migrant crisis taking on a new tone.
Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City.
Mayor Eric Adams escalating his frustration during a town hall meeting, revealing new fears as tens of thousands of asylum seekers continue to arrive in New York City.
110,000 migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. Month after month, I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you. Well, we're here. We're here.
A drastic shift from the message Adams first had for incoming migrants.
Lady Liberty sits in our harbor. New York City is the welcoming mat for the entire globe.
For months, he's been pleading with the federal government for help, going so far as to blame them for the city's deteriorating supply of resources.
The national government has turned its back on New York City.
What he once dubbed as a political stunt by Texas Governor Greg Abbott became a new reality for the city.
We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City.
This bus terminal became the first welcome sign for migrants after hours-long journeys from Texas. But the mayor says to his frustration, they are still arriving by the busload.
Howard Malu was there when the first buses of migrants arrived.
We are on the ground. We've outlasted every city agency that has come in to the Port Authority, which is a disgrace.
A year later, he says the city's resources have been mismanaged and the responsibility now falling onto organizers like him.
Several months ago, we saw the city here with representatives welcoming the migrants with open arms, providing resources. At what point did you see that change?
So unfortunately, the migrants have been used as political pawns since day one, which is why you had so many city agencies and politicians popping their head in, because it was really popular. It was a way for them to show that they actually cared, but there was no real follow-through.
Hotels like the historic Roosevelt became intake shelters for migrants. The city says they quickly filled up, and the issue became a blame game between the mayor and local aid groups.
They're not looking at the migrants as human beings. They're looking at them as numbers. They're looking at them as a way to get more money from the federal government. And they're also using them for their own tactic, which is to deter more people from coming here to New York City.
Out of the more than 110,000 who have arrived, many of them are families. First-day jitters for the nearly 20,000 newly arrived children entering classrooms all across the city.
Nervios, pues puede haber por ahí un poco de nervios, pero me siento muy motivado.
It is the story of New York City. We don't treat people as outsiders. We welcome them with open arms. And that's what we have been doing here.
Okay, Valerie joins me now in the studio. I guess people may be watching this And when you think about the fact that the mayor's a Democrat, the governor of New York's a Democrat, and the president is a Democrat, and they're not on the same page. I know you have some new reporting tonight. What has happened since Mayor Adams made those explosive comments last night?
So the White House spokesperson tells NBC News that the administration has been in talks with Governor Kathy Hochul as recently as today about this issue. They made no mention of any conversation with Mayor Eric Adams, though. They point out that $140 million in federal funding has already gone to the city and state from the Department of Homeland Security, but they say it'll ultimately be up to Congress to decide if more resources should be provided.
Yeah, but the other problem is that it seems like the mayor and the governor also aren't on the same page, and they're not talking to each other. Okay, Valerie, we appreciate all that reporting. Great report.
So here you have the black man that's mayor of New York. At first he was saying, yeah, come on, bring us all, bring them all, bring them all. Now that they overrunning, money going low, now it's too much. What we gonna do? My hands are tied. I don't know what to do. New York City ain't gonna be New York City no more. They're gonna eat us out of house and home. At one point, he was so desperate, he was saying, y'all got to house them in your own home. But this is a sanctuary city. To me, this is disgusting. But what he should do, when them buses come, tell the police, turn them buses around and send their ass right back. You better send them somewhere else because they ain't coming here. I don't know what the hell you're going to do, but you ain't coming here. That's what he need to do.
Look here, bro. Look here, bro. No, gas is too much to be sending them buses back. You know, them buses, share the wealth, brother. Share the wealth.
Mm-mm.
You know, we've been overrun down here. We didn't do more than our fair share, okay, in Houston. So y'all, they'll be all right. They're very industrious people, good people. Salt, salt of the earth type people, that's and then the fact that it's a beautiful thing when you really look at it, because see, you got Mexicans going, you got South Americans going, all kinds of flavors. You even got some Africans involved there, and some Russians and what have you. There you go, man. We don't try and send them back down here. You
got to go somewhere, but they damn sure can't go here.
What you mean, man? Y'all got room in Philly? What you mean?
No.
All them churches y'all got over there? Oh, brother.
Oh, ain't got no room.
You ain't got no. Yeah, y'all do, man. Don't nobody want to share. Huh?
Nope.
Lady Liberty right there in New York, ain't she? Ain't that what they said? That, give me
that's what he started saying.
You're tired huddled masses, or they tired and huddled.
You're yearning to be free.
Wait until winter hit. It's gonna get real bad then. Real bad, because they can't be on the street then.
And you have this fight in Chicago with another black mayor who's trying to force these immigrants into black communities where the black people don't want them. And they're trying to force their way in there. And so,
man, we've always been a people that look to help others, man.
You can't even help yourself. You can't help
Misery
yourself.
loves company, bro. Misery loves company, brother. So they didn't sit y'all company.
No. See, this is where now. See, me, I ain't gonna have no problem saying they ain't coming here. I wouldn't have no problem having police stop their ass as soon as they trying to come in the city and turn their ass back around. Look, I'm not responsible for your gas money. I ain't responsible for nothing because I didn't tell you to get on the bus. I didn't tell you to bring them here, and I ain't paying you to do nothing, but you ain't coming across here. And that's the way it got to be, period, point blank. To hell with them. That's how I feel about them, because they shouldn't have left their country in the first goddamn place. The hell, you gonna leave your country to come to America for what? Make your country better. even if it means you got to overthrow the crooked governments in your country, overthrow their ass and make them to be what they should be. They got to get it right.
Man, you sounded like one of these Republicans, brother.
Look here, it's black first, baby. It's black first. It's black first, or it ain't no way. And they can't come. Not here. They better shake it fast somewhere else.
What about the Africans?
I'm sorry for you. You was better in Africa.
You saw your African brother sitting there.
You were better in Africa. You gonna leave your home to come to the racist hell this is? I'm doing you a favor by telling you to go back. I'm doing you a favor because I love you. Go on back to where you come from. There got to be rules and regulations, period, point blank. My people here, they got to eat. Their children deserve great education. No, so we gotta just clear the slate. They go back to where they came from. Period, point blank. That's just the way it got to be. That's just the way it got to be. Go back where your ass came from. Make that great. Make that great where you came from.
So you ain't concerned with humanity or nothing like that, man?
I am concerned with Black America's humanity. I'm concerned. That's why I'm concerned, that Black America's humanity. We gotta see, because this we ain't going nowhere. We gotta deal with this right here. We gotta deal with it. We can't go run off to Africa. We gotta deal with what's right here.
Well, they came
in order to deal with what's right here, we gotta cut that foolishness out.
Oh, brother. I mean, man, they came over here to help.
No, they came over here to help. They came over here with the wrong idea. That's what the hell. They came over here with the wrong idea. And so trust and believe, B1, we will get them straight with the right idea. Because you can do more, you can do greater in your own country than to leave your own home to come all the way here to be discriminated against. Please. Ain't no way in the world.
I want to add something about that. Like Africans coming here, unfortunately, the vast majority of them have like a strong hatred and indifference towards Black Americans. They think of themselves as better and better off than Black Americans, more smarter and productive than Black Americans, and they view Black Americans as lazy. And a whole bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time for Black Americans to put these West Africans in their place. It's mostly West Africans that are the ones coming here with that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
They come here to the States to kiss the white man's ass.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. You should have. I know you don't follow Tariq because he's got his own ulterior motives, agendas, but he did a live stream last year because he calls himself as a foundational Black American. There were like a whole bunch of Nigerians like attacking him on his live streams, saying that Black Americans in America are the minority, whites outnumber them, and that whites are more immigrant friendly than Black Americans. And that's not really the case at all.
Mm-mm.
So Tariq got on this individual's ass, saying that and this is a fact, white Americans don't let these immigrants live among them in large numbers. They either live in the ghettos or slums and other segregated parts of the country, but not among white people in large numbers.
One thing, I want to go back to a comment that and I can't pronounce his name because I would pronounce it, but I can't pronounce it. Doc, can you pronounce what his name is, what the person's name is?
No, I mean, I no. I don't know if it's Mr. I don't know if it's Rad. No.
Okay. So, but he says that, and I thought about this as I was listening to the clip at work today. America has taken part in the destabilization of some of these countries. And that's true. They did, hellified job.
That's why America killed Gaddafi. That's why they assassinated Gaddafi. Because he was trying to uplift Libya and all of Africa. But the CIA killed him.
Exactly.
And also Malcolm X as well.
I'm listening to this, and it just dawned on me that you two brothers, y'all more responsible for this than anybody else, because y'all was in the military. So y'all should really be welcoming to the people whose nation that y'all service helped to destabilize. The Mill just got back from causing trouble over somewhere on the other side of the globe.
And so it goes back to what Maurice is saying. Abuse and
now y'all want to act like my immigrant people, my fellow
abuse of
humans.
power and authority. The system that's been put in place for all of us. Unfortunately, we gotta do what we gotta do to live and survive. And unfortunately, take part in doing the bidding of the government. That's just the unfortunate system that's been put in place for us. So we need to be more. That's why like what we're saying, we need to be more quote unquote radical. And stop letting ourselves be governed, controlled, and done wrong like this. Where we even if it's not directly, we're still doing evil stuff indirectly, since we're since we're part of the military.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all watched the Hunger Games, where these children were trying to destroy the whole system that's been using these children as for entertainment and sports. That's what the masses need to do if we are to live completely free.
I know that's right. And we definitely, because this is an issue of our time, and we have to be decisive, we have to be bold, we have to be uncompromising. Now, as Sister Eleanor says, that the Indians and Afghans come into the UK in their thousands via small boats from France. The papers then show photos of Black people flooding the country, which increases hate towards British Blacks. And I thought about that as well. And I don't mind for Britain and France to be overrun. Go ahead and overrun them. Do what need to be done. It is very interesting, the situation in Europe when it comes to the Black Brits, because they face hate all around, and they're in the mother country of hate. I consider the UK to be the mother country of hate. And so they're in a very interesting situation. And we still got to do what need to be done. When we're understanding that our way is a new way that we have to establish, regardless of what other people think about it. Oh, you're not being right. You're not being soft. You're supposed to welcome them. No, you got to take care of home first. You got to take care of home first. If you don't take care of home, you can't help nobody. So, Black USA, Black people in America, we got to take care of us first in order to be able to secure a future for our children. Because trust and believe, when the immigrants, the illegal immigrants, they coming over, they ain't thinking about making it better for you. They ain't thinking about making it better for their children. They'll quickly find a way to say, nigga, get out of my face. And that's a reality that has to be dealt with. Yes, America did do some hell of a things in their countries to destroy them. But you better figure out a different way to bring America down to do what you got to do. You better figure out a different way. And so Eleanor says, in other words, they are not showing images of Indians and Afghans, but fake images of Black people flooding the UK. In all honesty, the Africans who do get in the UK do think they're better. Well, damn, so they doing the same shit over there that they doing over here. When they do get in, they think that they're better than the Africans that have already been there. We got a lot of work to do. We got some things to get going. But we are at our time for today on the use and abuse of authority. I didn't really go in as far as I wanted us to go. We'll probably have to do a part 2 because I wanted to make it very clear for Black men, Black women as well, but especially for Black men, that this is a fight and there is no sideline. And when you have a lying government official in your face, you better speak the truth and put his ass in his place, whether it's a Black or whether it's a cracker or whether it's an Asian, whoever the elected official is in your hold on, we're getting a call that's coming in. Hello? Hey, Eleanor, you wanted to be on the program?
No, why not?
Okay.
I know Morris.
All right.
From the UK.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you are on.
Am I on?
Yes, ma'am. You're on.
Hi, Morris. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. And yourself?
I'm fine. It's quite late here. It's nearly 3 o'clock. I just phoned in really to say that, yeah, we've got the same problem here. We've got the same problem here. We've got the same problem here. And how our government's trying to deal with it, they're saying they're going to deport these people to Rwanda. It doesn't matter if they come from Iraq. It doesn't matter if they come from Syria. It doesn't matter if they come from Iran. It doesn't matter if they come from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They're putting them on planes to Rwanda to live forever after. But as I was trying to say on your program, the problem I have with all of this, I don't actually mind the UK being overrun. I don't, because this country is an insidiously, vitriolically wicked country towards Black people in particular. The anti-Blackness here is on a level that you wouldn't even conceive of. It's on people, Americans I know who are living in this country have told me with a straight face it's worse than America, and I've laughed as they've told me this, but it's the absolute truth. I believe it to be the truth. So I don't care if this country is overrun with Black and brown people. The problem I have at the moment is that the imagery that's being presented is that it's Black people who are making these journeys predominantly from, in inverted commas, sub-Saharan Africa. But it's mostly people from India, Afghanistan, Syria, whatever. And then they present the photographs of Black people on the front page of the national newspapers, and then we get it here. We get such hatred. We're being told Black British people now are being reported to the Home Office, which is the equivalent of is it Homeland Security? I don't know who you report people to who are illegal immigrants.
Yes.
People are trying to report Black people born in this country to the Home Office, saying that they're not really born in this country, that they should be deported back to Africa. when we're born here, because they think it's migrants crossing over. This is the problem that's happening at the moment.
Wow. That's very, very
Yeah, it happens
interesting.
quite a few. Happened to a few people I know born here, and they've been threatened by white people to be reported so that they can be deported where they were born here. The level of anti-black hatred is obviously there. I think it's a bit different though in your country because I don't know. I thought the majority of people making the journey to the USA were from Central and South America. Is that not the case?
Yes, that is the case. Mm-hmm.
And I know that Mexicans can't stand black people because I've been to Mexico, and they do have a fundamental problem with us. Although I've been to that country.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. You know what? One thing that really sticks out to what you said is, regardless of where they actually come from, the UK is going to send them to Rwanda. Did they get a workout arrangement with the Rwandan government, or they just saying this is what we're going to do?
What they did was they went to Rwanda and they came to some sort of international accord with them. They set up some sort of a immigration center for them there, and of course the international community were up in arms about this and said it was completely unconstitutional. It breached international law, it breached international norms, it breached humanitarian law, and the British government said, okay then, yeah, we don't care, we're still going to do it anyway. Now they put a lot of people on a plane to deport them, and something happened. The lawyers intervened, and they had to get them off of the plane. So what the government said is that they're going to remove themselves from the International Court of Human Rights, from the European Court of Human Rights. They're going to abolish the Human Rights Act. They're trying to think of every single method that they can so that they can circumvent the human. I mean, and in a sense, it's a double-edged sword, because if they do that, if they do upturn and abolish things like the Human Rights Act, it means that people like me have no rights. It means that I can be discriminated against. Yeah, it might work and be beneficial for her and the government in terms of deporting people, but it won't be beneficial for me if I'm being discriminated against by the police, and I can't say that anybody's breaching my human rights in this country. So this is what their intentions. This is what they intend to do. They even built these huge barges, absolutely huge barges, and they floated them on some river, a couple of rivers, and they said we're not paying for hotels anymore because the hotels that they're housing these refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers in are costing millions upon millions of pounds every single day. And so they said essentially, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to put them on barges. So they proceeded to put them on barges about a month ago, and then I think 2 days after they were on the barge, they found they had there was Legionnaires' disease was found on the barges, so they had to move them off it. The population here absolutely despise migrants and asylum seekers. They've tried to burn down the places that they're held in. You see them, outside with placards saying they want them out of the country. And this is really cemented. It's cemented a lot. The problem, I don't know about America, but what it's done in this country, it cemented a lot of hatred, not only towards migrants, refugees, but towards people like me. It becomes a wider proliferation. The white people in this country can't differentiate between migrants, refugees, coming from other countries and me who was born here, and they're starting to tell black people to go back from where you come from. You're not British, you weren't born here. You may be born here, but you're not indigenous to this country. You may as well be a migrant, so you can naff off with the rest of them. That's happening a lot now, Maurice, in this country, and I don't know if that's happening to black people in America. I suspect not, because they can differentiate you from Mexicans and South Americans and Guatemalans. But in this country, they're beginning to homogenize everybody. So if you've got brown skin, the racist white population just believes you're part of a wider cohort of blackness and brownness that's coming into this country, and we want you gone as well. That's kind of what's happening.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a miserable existence living in this country, at the moment. But it always has been, but it's just got so much worse. It's got so much worse. But I think as well, I was thinking about it today. I think that I know the white fear of migration has a lot to do with this whole great replacement theory that they have, don't they? They have this great replacement theory that they're going to be replaced with brown slave faces. But as I said to you before, a part of me tends to think, I used to think that if black and brown people flooded this country, there would be less racism. But quite honestly, as somebody pointed out already today in your video, in your talk today, that there's incoming racism from South Asian people. There's a lot of racism from South Asian people, particularly people from India in this country. A lot of anti-blackness from people of Indian heritage and Indian origin. And people from West Africa, Nigeria, those sorts of regions, they look down on people of Caribbean heritage. They see us as lowlifes. They see us as not as accomplished as them. It's rather similar. We had a conversation once, I don't know if you can remember, a while ago, and you were saying to me that Caribbean people who enter America act that way towards African Americans. Do you remember you said this to me?
Yep, I remember.
And I was amazed that Caribbean people, because in this country, people of Caribbean origin are on the lowest social strata. They're not considered to be a model minority in the UK. They may very well be considered that in America, but in this country, we're on the lowest social strata. We're seen as being the dregs. If you take all the ethnic minority groups, the top groups are people of East Asian origin, like maybe Chinese, Japanese, Hong Kong, Singapore, Indian, Jewish people, and then you have African people, and then you have Pakistani people, Bangladeshi people, and Caribbean people at the bottom. We're associated with crime, we're associated with poverty, we're associated with all of the things that African Americans are associated with. We're not associated with academic achievement or anything in this country. Even if we do achieve, we're not recognised for it. So, yeah, sorry, I've probably taken the conversation off to a different direction there, but I'm just trying to tell you that you may have incoming Caribbean people who try to act better than you, African Americans. But in this country, they're not seen. You can come to this country and say you're Jamaican, and people will look down on you. You can say you're from Barbados, people will look down on you. Nobody's going to be elevating you in the UK if you're Caribbean.
Wow. No, we thank you, Eleanor. That was definitely eye-opening. It's good to know what's going on in other parts of the world, what's going on in UK, and how Black life is treated there. It's definitely good to know.
Yeah. I'm glad, because when I speak to Americans, they often, I have conversations and they say to me, gosh, everything that you say, particularly on Twitter, is precisely what's going on in America. We thought that the UK was a genteel country, that you didn't really have racism. I mean, the police beat up 90-year-old black women with dementia. There was a 90-year-old black woman they beat up about a month ago. They beat up a 70-odd-year-old man with cancer and dementia, black guy. They shot a man in the head who was just driving home. And armed police did, and they recently said one of the police was arrested and charged with his murder. What do you think happened? Most of these armed police that we have in this country gave their guns in. They gave their guns in a couple of days ago and said, essentially what they were saying was this: we want the right to be able to shoot black people in the head without being arrested and charged with murder. And if you're going to take that right away from us, then we're handing in our guns. And that's precisely what they did. So that has to tell you the nature of this country.
Wow.
You know?
So are they going to, is the government going to allow them to do that?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, well, what they've done is they're going to draft in the army to take over those sorts of, we don't have an armed police force like you. I think you know that. We have, our police are not routinely armed at all. There are specialist police who are armed, and they're by the government buildings and the palaces, and they'll respond if there's a terrorist attack or if I was stopped by a police officer tomorrow, he'd have a baton and some mace, or whatever you call it. That's the weaponry that they have here. They still kill people. They've killed a lot of black people here with their batons, of course, and they do the whole strangulation thing that they do in America. But the government's now trying to change the law so that, because we have an extreme far-right government in power at the moment, headed by Asian people. We've got an Indian Prime Minister, and I think the top 2 or 3 positions are held by Indian people. And the anti-blackness that pours forth from their mouth on a almost weekly basis. They've said essentially that, well, one of them recently said that she feels the police should be able to shoot thugs. Thugs is a code word for us, isn't it?
Yes.
Thugs is a code word for black people.
Right.
Extrajudicially, so without recourse to, the law, without being charged, or this is essentially what she said recently. So, I think I just very quickly, and I won't monopolise much more of your time, but years ago I visited one of these refugee camps in France, because what happens is they come over from the Middle East on small boats or large boats. They make their way to the Mediterranean. They end up in Greek islands and Italy, places like that, and then they literally make their way from southern Europe all the way up to France, and then make the decision as to whether they want to stay in France, go to Germany, or make their way to the UK. And I went to one of the camps in France. I spent about a week there, speaking to these refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants. And I said to them, the UK is racist. They don't want you here. I'm telling you, they do not want you in the UK. They don't. They don't want brown people here. They don't mind Ukrainians. They don't mind Swedish people. They don't mind German people. They don't want you. These people categorically refused to listen to me. They thought that I was just trying to deter them because I wanted to keep all the riches of this country to myself. And there's a Caribbean saying that what you don't hear, you feel. So they're probably feeling it right now. They're probably feeling it right now, because I think when they come here, they think they're going to get a warm reception from the white indigenous people, not realizing they hate them with an extreme venom,
Wow.
So I think it's a little bit different to your situation, because I think it is a little bit different, because when the Mexicans and the Guatemalans are coming over into America, surely the white Americans are not turning on African Americans because of this, are they?
No, not that I've seen.
Yeah, they're doing it. No, they're turning. Well, we're getting turned on because of these migrants, because we're all brown. They see us as all brown, and that's not happening to you. But it is affecting. It's affecting things like your ability to access housing, your ability to access education, your ability to access jobs. I know, is that how it impacts American migration?
Exactly.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, because America is competition. So when you bring the illegal in and you give them, because in New York they can vote. They're not citizens, but they can vote in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so they get access to schools, they get access to money. You know, as the mayor said, we got to clothe them, we got to feed them, we got to wash their clothes, we got to do all this stuff to them. You got to educate them, you got to do this, you got to do it. So that's draining money. That's resources that should be going to the citizens of that city, which is not, is now is being funded to the illegal immigrants. So it's a problem.
Is it true? I read. Is it true that New York has some sort of issue that they're flooding into New York for some reason? I read that tens of thousands, and that the state can't deal with it. Is that true? I'm sure I read it somewhere the other day.
Yeah, it is true. New York is a sanctuary city, and so they flood there. But you know, we were just playing a clip from the mayor who says that this has to stop because New York will no longer be New York any longer. The immigrants is taking over. It's going to break them. It's going to break the city.
So why don't they just reverse their sanctuary status? Is it not? Why don't they just reverse their sanctuary status? They can't do that.
Well, he could do that, but he doesn't have the strength to do that. He doesn't have the strength to do that. Don't have the strength to go against, your president and all this and all of that stuff. You want to be a party favorite. To hell with that.
Biden's has no issue with any of this.
No. Mm-mm. No, the way they rolling over that southern border is crazy. It's crazy. I think that Trump is going to get back in. They'll kill Trump before they allow him to be president.
Really?
I believe they will kill him before they allow him to be president. Most definitely.
Do you think that Trump is a better option for Black people in America?
No, I don't. I'm not saying that Black people should run out there and vote for Trump. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that with all these court cases and all of this stuff that they're throwing on him, they don't want him in that office. And there's enough of white folks that want him in office, and they will vote for him. And if he wins, the only thing left that they could do to him is kill him. But Biden has some issue hanging over him regarding his son. Yeah, but that's his son. That's not him. That's his son. That's not him. He can't go to jail for his son.
I just can't believe that. But to be honest with you, rather like the UK, there is no administration that you would ever have that would benefit Black people. And one thing I will say to you before I go, because it's quite late, I would advise you at some point to have a talk on. I was looking at an article today. I'm just going to quickly find it about South Africa, and it just made me laugh so hard. And I thought, gosh, I kind of wish this was happening in the UK. There is this. Let me just try and find it very quickly. I'm just having to rely on. Hang on. There's this. They're talking about the farmers in South Africa. Hang on. And there's this. Hang on. Let's just try and locate. I have to do a search. Okay. He's called the Singing Marxist. I don't know about the whole Marxism thing, but have you heard of? Let me find his name. His name is. Hang on. Julius Sello Malema.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You've heard of him?
Yes.
He's the leader of the economic freedom fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, and the things that he says, he's quite hardcore. He just says he wants the country back, and if they don't like it, they can leave.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He's extremely hardcore when it comes to white people.
Right.
He believes that they have no business being in that country.
Right.
And I'll send you an article a bit later. It's probably a bit too. I don't want you to get us penalised, whatever you do to people nowadays.
Definitely. Yeah,
say hello to the doctor.
Doc, you hear Ellie says hello to you.
Yes, I do hear that British accent still throws me. Still
And your
throws
other guest
me.
as well, his name. I'm sorry I didn't catch your other guest as well, his name. I'm sorry.
Emil.
I didn't catch it. Sorry?
Emil. The other guest is Emil.
Okay, say hello. Hi. And I shall let you go because I've taken up probably 20 minutes of your time. It was an impetuous decision to phone you because I just wanted to quicker to get over what I wanted to say. But hopefully I'll catch up with you all soon.
Most definitely.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, okay?
Most definitely.
Thank you for letting me speak.
No, thank you. You know, you're always welcome, Ellie. We love to have you on the program.
Yeah.
It definitely brightens our day.
Take good care, all of you, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, bye now.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Peace and blessings. All right. So that was our sister Ellie from the UK chiming in. And we always love to hear from our family throughout this globe. But Sister Ellie, like Brother Jughead, they are warriors over there in the UK, holding it down. Black first all the way. We're going to go ahead to closing comments. We are 20 minutes over. But Doc, your closing comments? No, hold on, Doc. Let Emil go first since he our guest. Emil, closing comments?
Okay, so before I go to my closing comments, I wanted to when you had Eleanor on the line, I had a question for her, but I didn't want to interrupt y'all's conversation. So maybe she can next time she goes back on the line on future live streams, she can answer this question. But when she was talking about the people in the UK that are on the bottom of the totem pole, she, if I heard correctly, she mentioned Japanese people, Chinese people, people from Singapore, all those countries in Asia. Is that what she said? That they're also in the bottom of the totem pole, along with black people in the UK?
No, she wasn't. She was saying, I believe, well, Eleanor, she's still there. She's still listening. But I believe she was saying that those are the ones higher on the totem pole, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Eleanor, if I'm not answering the question correctly, please let us know.
Okay,
So
because if that's what she was saying, then I wanted to say that
she's saying that they're model minorities.
well, they should get a taste of their own medicine. Since they all feel like they're better off and better than black people. At the end of the day, they are really not. And what white people also view them a certain way towards them, just like they do black people. So and these Asians that are put in like positions of power, they're just puppets. They're also puppets being used against black people. But white people, these crackers don't care about these Asians either. They also want their total demise. So they should really get a taste of their own medicine to so that they know how it feels like how black people over the world are being treated like.
So she says that the East Asians are not really treating black people bad. It's the South Asians.
So South Asians, as in the Indians and the so-called Middle Easterners, Arabs. Is that what she means by South Asians? Well, I'm really too shocked to hear that. Yeah, I guess there's no more stuff I need to learn. But yeah, we can see that, especially what's going on in Africa. With how the Chinese are treating the Africans there.
Definitely. I know I'm really shocked that the UK has a Indian as their prime minister. That's shocking to me.
But going on ahead to my closing statements.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me on this live stream. Uh, we've all touched on some very important things, and I hope to be featured on future live streams again with y'all.
Most definitely. Most definitely. We thank you, dear brother Emil. Doc?
You know, it's always encouraging, inspirational, and somewhat liberating psychologically to be here, to realize I'm around like-minded individuals who are still in process, very much like I am. Continue to be encouraged, continue to love each other, and continue to take care of one another. Love you all. Peace.
All right. Thank you, Doc. And, don't forget, we will be live again tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Our topic will be this thing that they call the replacement theory. That's what we will be talking about. Is it real? Where did it come from? Is it something that they know is coming and we don't understand exactly what it's about? So we will be talking about it tomorrow. The replacement theory. What is it? Are we ready for it? Is it something that's make-believe or is it something that's real? Again, we didn't get to all of the use and abuse of authority that I wanted us to get into. So we'll probably do a part 2 because I want to go a little bit deeper. It is a must that we as Black people wake up and understand our role. It is a must that we as Black people understand that we have to take power regardless to where we are on the earth, because the enemy's time is up. The enemy time is up. So that means your time is now. Doc said a few times, he used to say, if all the white folks dropped off the planet today, who going to run the electric company? Who going to run the gas company? Who going to keep the lights on? Who going to make sure the traffic lights work? See, we got to be understanding that we got to be in these positions. We got to have the understanding to know that the time is changing and it's our time to be there. And we have to answer the call. We don't run from the call. We answer the call because it is what we do. It is what we were born for. So as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
You better get the message and get it straight. You're going to need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.
Peace.